Hi everyone, Sam and I are back and we're super excited to be working with LDRS Creative for this installment of Too Many Cards. LDRS products are so adorable and sweet with such range that you're sure to find many things to love. Angie sent us a very generous bundle of goodies including the just released A Day in the Park stamp set and coordinating dies. I just love that their dies are pre-cut because I'm one of those people who always cuts myself or gets poked when taking new dies apart. It's a scary and painful process for me. We're also using the Boardwalk mice stamp set and coordinating dies. I had to have this set because I'm a rat in the Chinese zodiac and so are my husband and son. It's pretty cool that we were all born in the year of the rat. These tiny mice are so cute. Next is the Set the Scene landscape stamp set and coordinating die. The die cuts along the top edge of the hill on the bottom of the set and also leaves a stitched line below the cut line. We also got the Miss You die, which I didn't end up using, but Sam featured it beautifully and you'll see that in action in her video. Last but not least, we got the Rainy Day stencil, which is fabulous. I love scene stencils. I start by stamping all the images and scenes for both cards, using VersaFine Onyx Black Pigment ink so I can watercolor. I use my magic embossing bag a lot on the watercolor cardstock to make sure the powder doesn't stick where it's not supposed to, especially now that it's summer and it's very humid. Then I heat emboss everything with superfine clear embossing powder. This was one of those rare times that I actually planned out my scenes in advance, so I didn't stamp as many extra images as I normally do. I'm going to put on some music while I fast forward through the coloring, which I do with my mini distress ink pads that I smoosh onto a media mat. After the coloring is all done, I use the landscape die to make a mask so that I can ink blend the entire grassy area. I put the release sheet back behind most of it because it's quite sticky and would be difficult to peel off half the panel. After that's done, I use the other half of the masking paper to cover the grass and use the Rainy Day stencil to create some billowy clouds in the sky. I absolutely adore the shape of these clouds. When I'm done, I notice that my ink blending brush went off the edge and I have ink splotches where they shouldn't be. Since I use distress inks and they're reactive to water, it's so easy to essentially erase my inking mistakes. I just use a clean wet brush to dilute the ink in those areas and dab it dry with a paper towel. Now it's all fixed, like the mistakes never happened. I love it. I bring back the previous piece of masking paper, spritz some water on the grass, and wick away the excess with a paper towel. Now there's texture on the grass. Now I'm going to use the coordinating landscape die to cut the top of the stamped hill so I can tuck trees behind it. It's very easy to line up since there's a cut line and a stitched line. Once the die is centered, it cuts directly above the stamped line and leaves a stitched line beneath it. I love that kind of detail. You can use this die as is on a single panel, or you can cut it all the way to the edge to pop up the grassy half panel and create a different kind of scene with more dimension. Now I'm ready to assemble my scene and stamp the sentiment. I really wanted to use all three trees, and I love the way the scene looks, but this arrangement didn't leave any room for the sentiment, so I had to leave out the third tree. I loved the idea of the girl going out for a bike ride with her puppy who ran ahead of her and hopped up onto the bench to wait for her while she parked her bike so they could have a rest and enjoy the view. Once everything was in place and I was happy with the positioning, I put the panel in my Misty stamping tool and heat embossed the sentiment. I used a combination of glue dots, liquid glue, and foam tape to adhere all of the images onto the card panel. When I use watercolor cardstock, I always use score tape to adhere the panels to the card base to keep it flat. Here's a closer look at the finished card. Scene cards are my favorite, and this one was so fun to create. This time I've skipped all the coloring for my second card. I've forwarded to sponging the anchor or sidewalk for the cityscape. Now I'm using masking paper to create sun rays at the top of the card. I stop about 2/3 of the way through and add my images to see if it's enough, but I decide to keep going all the way to the top edge of the card. Now it's time to stamp the sentiment, which I also heat emboss, just like the rest of the images. I pop up all of these images with foam tape and add a sprinkling of pearls for shine and visual interest. Have you seen the movie The Aeronauts on Amazon Prime? This scene with the adventurous mice reminded me of the risks they took in that movie in the name of science. These mice are definitely playing a dangerous game, but look how tiny they are. They're absolutely adorable. You're going to love what Sam has in store for you. I just love watching her create and giggle. Her enthusiasm is so contagious. Be sure to leave a comment here and on Sam's YouTube channel for your chance to win a $30 gift certificate to the LDRS Creative store. Comments will close at 11:59 p.m. Eastern on August 15th, 2020, and the winner will be announced before our next Too Many Cards videos go live. Please check back to see if you've won. Thanks so much for all your love and support for this video series. If you enjoyed today's video, please click on the subscribe button and hit the bell so you don't miss the next one. Be sure to head to my blog for all the details, more photos, and a full supply list. Thanks so much for watching.